Hey everyone, so I'm not really sure where this video is going to go or how I'm even going to start this video, but it's something I've been thinking about for the past couple of months. I want to say ever since I got back from a trip to London, England at the end of February, I've kind of been feeling this way, and I think it's just been a long time coming. I'm mostly making this video for myself because I really need to hear it and I really need to just externalize how I'm feeling. And I know that these types of topics have always they've always gotten really good response in the comments, but they never get the most views. And like, that's such a really crappy way to think about things. Like there's things that I just want to talk about and things I want to say, and I'm just thinking about numbers way too much. And that kind of ties into everything that I'm about to talk about in this video. But I really have been thinking about a lot of like the goals I've set for myself this year and in the past, as well as just like myself as a cosplayer and a maker in this space. And one of the things that I say time and time again is that it is okay to take breaks. It is okay that cosplay is not your entire personality. And as much as I say that out loud, I cannot internalize it. A hobby should really enhance your life. Whenever it starts to take over a lot of your life, that can be okay. You just have to really kind of watch it because you can kind of get lost in it. And that's kind of where I'm finding myself right now. So for those of you that don't know, I started cosplaying back in 2016. If you want to get really technical, it was actually 2015 where I did like a closet cosplay of Star Fox. I actually have a video about my whole cosplay journey. It's like an hour long. I really do apologize, but it's kind of like podcast format where you can like listen to it while you work. So maybe put it on your watch later for something to watch while you're, working on a costume or something like that. But I started cosplaying back in 2016, and really what I needed at the time was an escape. I needed something to put my excess energy into and towards that had like a physical, something that I could produce at the very end of it. It's not a great time in my life, not fun, but through that, I was able to like channel all of this restless energy that I had into these costumes. And I kind of got used to making costumes very quickly, almost like I didn't know what else to do. Like I felt like I was basically being driven by a motor to make these costumes. I was waking up and all I was thinking about was making costumes, and that was all that I did. And I don't say that lightly. I don't say that lightly. Like when I say that that's all that I did, that's all that I did. Any free time that I had, I was working on a costume. Any, time that I was playing video games or whatever, I was playing the game, but I was also in the back of my mind, like mentally trying to figure out how to make costumes from the game, because somewhere along the line, the way that I expressed my love for something was making a costume from it. And that is really what I'm here making this video about today, because the way that I cosplay fundamentally has changed mentally since coming back from London. I want to say even like earlier last year. Like there was a point last year where I just kind of like broke down and like was just so stressed with everything with YouTube and cosplay and all of these other commitments that I had. And I just kind of realized like, oh my God, how did I get here? How did I get to this point where I feel like the only way for me to express how I enjoy something or love something is to make a costume from it? Because that is absolutely like the most ridiculous way to think about cosplaying. It is a labor of love for me. It is just one of these things that I feel drawn to make costumes of these characters. It's like I spent 2 years making a Bo-Katan costume. I didn't know that season 3 was going to be heavily centered around Bo-Katan. I just love her as a character, and I was thrilled to see that story play out on screen. But I think what I'm now starting to recognize in myself is that putting all of that love and all of that energy into these costumes is extremely draining. Doubly so for someone that's posting YouTube tutorials and on social media and all of these other places where, we all know you post something and you're getting feedback on it. And I know it's kind of silly to ask, but sometimes I just don't want feedback. Sometimes I just want to put something out into the world and just let it be out there. Do you know what I mean? And I've hesitated to say stuff like this for so long because, people will instantly say, well, that's what you should expect whenever you're on the internet. Whenever you're sharing things that you like, you should expect for people to tear them down, or for people to basically be like, well, why exactly do you like that thing? Like, I don't believe that you're a real fan, even though you've made a whole Bo-Katan costume. I don't believe that you're a real Star Wars fan, and that stuff really starts to get to you. I just want to be able to go somewhere and not have what I love be questioned. And I just want everyone to know, like, watching this video, like, I deeply appreciate anyone who has offered me advice or suggested a different way to do things to me, because I do appreciate that. There are so many different ways to make a costume. There's so many ways, there's so many materials to go about with making a costume that, you know, who am I to say that, like, my way is the best way? I, for the most part, make my costumes pretty shoddily, because I've basically realized if I strive for perfection in every costume that I make, I'm never getting a costume done. That's one of, like, the best lessons that I could teach to anyone who wants to get into cosplay, is figure out what your limit is. And what I mean by that is, like, whenever you're making something, like, what is the limit that you're willing to be okay with something looking? Because if it's your first costume, it's not going to look perfect. And, like, who's to say, it might be, you might just have, like, a hidden talent and all that stuff. But the thing is like, I'm making the costumes that I am today because I made the costumes that I'm, like, showing on the screen, like the costumes that I cringe looking at these days. And I just find myself falling further and further away from that as time goes on, because with all of the pressures that are around social media and creation and stuff like that, like, even just the pressure of knowing that I haven't put a video out on YouTube for, like, the past 2 weeks or something like that, it really starts to get to me. And I don't want that pressure anymore, because I want to fall back in love with the process of making costumes like I used to. I cannot do the weekly video. I cannot do the, I promise that I will get this costume done within X amount of time, because it's just kind of robbing me of a lot of the fun that I had in cosplay. Because a lot of the things that I used to do back in the day, I wasn't doing the correct way. And in fact, I still don't do things the right way, you know? And that was, like, the biggest freeing thing for me about cosplay, was there was no right way to do it. But after being on YouTube for a couple years, and Instagram and all these other places, and basically, like, I think it's just like the amount of feedback and just all of that stuff in my head has just finally come to a point where I need to just kind of cut myself off from it and rediscover why I love this hobby. And I think what I need to do right now is to kind of just take a step back and take a little break from making tutorials, take a step back and make the videos that I truly want to make. You know, I love making tutorials and I love sharing what I've learned about, like, 3D printing and cosplay and all that stuff. I get the most fulfillment out of sharing videos like this, showing you exactly where I'm at in my headspace, and that this is how projects go in my world. I am not a perfect crafter by any means. I am not a perfect cosplayer. And in fact, I kind of struggle to call myself a cosplayer these days, because I don't even necessarily want to put a costume on. I don't know what it is. I don't know why, because whenever I do put it on, like whenever I did at PAX East this past year, I have a great time. I have so much fun whenever I'm in costume. It's almost like it's almost like having that over my head that I'm going to be putting a costume on in the future is like, oh my God, am I going to be in the mood to do that? But it makes sense in my world, because I don't really know what I'm going to be in the mood for day to day, you know? And that goes back to ADHD and all this stuff. And, like, I'm still struggling with that. I'm still kind of trying to figure out my groove of how I do costumes, how to get projects done with ADHD now that I'm actually, like, medicated and not using these projects as a coping mechanism for my ADHD. Like, the truth is, I was probably able to get a lot of these costumes done in as short of a period of time because I was hyper-focused on them, and that's what was giving me the dopamine, and that's what was giving me this sense of accomplishment at the time. And, like, me saying that to you, you probably are like, oh, that's great, like, you were able to complete these things so quickly and whatever, and why don't you just go back to that? Well, the thing is I was not really living. I was not really present in my life whenever I was making costumes at that speed, because every moment of every day was dedicated to making a costume, to figuring out something. And I might have already talked about this in this video, but basically my life was consumed by this thing that I needed to do and I needed to get better at. And I don't regret for 1 second doing what I did. It's almost like the past 7 years, I'm finally recognizing just how hard I worked and how tired it made me, because I just need a break. I don't know what a break means necessarily for me, because I know I'm a person that will always be creating something. It may take a while for things to get out, but I just need to eliminate some pressure from this whole process. And for me, I have to make a video like this, and I'm sorry that it's like kind of ambiguous and being like, I don't really know what a break means for me, but it's just something that I need to get out in the world. I need to take care of myself, and I need to figure out what I want to do next in costuming, in cosplay, what my place is in here, because it's kind of gone through a lot of iterations over the past couple years. Like before, I was just posting work in progress stuff on Instagram, and now I'm doing YouTube, and now I'm guesting at conventions and all this other stuff, and I'm sharing my experiences with people, and I want to just be as authentic as I possibly can. The only thing is that I struggle to be authentic in the moment, because the last thing that I want to do whenever I'm kind of struggling with a project, shove a camera in my face to really just capture what's going on. And that's why I've kind of had to sit on these feelings for like the past 3 months or so and just be like, what do I want to do next? Because I feel like I have been doing a lot of things that I feel like I should be doing and not necessarily doing because I want to do them, if that makes sense. So I guess like the whole thesis statement of this video is that it's okay to take breaks. It's okay to pivot from what you're doing if it's not working for you. We all set out at the beginning of the year with goals and projects in mind that we really want to tackle. But the thing is that those goals and projects don't live in a vacuum. You know, life just throws stuff at you, and you kind of have to adapt and change course whenever things are thrown at you. You know, you're never gonna feel truly ready. Even just like me making this video about being like, oh, I'm taking a break, but I don't really know what the heck that means. It's scary to come out and say, oh yeah, I'm taking a break. Bye. Like, because we're always worried that people are going to forget about us. The truth of the matter is like, I know whenever I come back and post more things, there will be people here. I know that you guys will be here, and I'm not going away permanently. Like, I'm just saying that I need to put this out there that I'm taking a break, because if I don't, then I'm not going to take one, because I need that external kind of motivation, if that makes sense. I need externally to say this is happening for me to take it seriously. If there's anything you take away from this whole rambly video, it's okay to take a break. It's okay to pivot if things aren't working. Whenever I made this duct tape pauldron back at PAX East, I made this in like such a fever dream. I had so much fun making that pauldron. The whole experience and the whole story behind that pauldron is really why I haven't taken this duct tape off of this pauldron, because underneath there, it looks like this. And the reason that this is kind of hitting me so hard is because I started working on the actual legitimate new pauldron that I'm gonna wear at a convention I'm guesting next month at Fan Expo Philadelphia. Here it is, but I didn't have like any fun with this. The process is no longer fun for me. The process almost looks more like work to me. It's like a task that I have to check off on my to-do list, and I just really, really want to get back to the fun of cosplay. I don't know what that means yet. The thing is I could have let the fact that I wasn't having fun working on that pauldron really bum me out. And all right, let's be honest, it did kind of bum me out for a day. I was kind of like feeling sorry for myself and being like, oh, this isn't my best work and whatever, yada yada. And then I kind of went back to that idea of, yeah, but is it good enough? Like that I mentioned earlier on in the video. This pauldron is very much good enough for a finished costume. I just remember having so much passion and having so much fun for cosplay and learning, and I'm missing that. I am really missing just the passion for learning and looking at other people's costumes and getting people into this hobby. And I don't know what's going on. I don't know if I'm burnt out. I don't know what's going on, but there has been a lot of things that have been going on in my life that, you know, I haven't properly been taking care of, I think. And this last project with this pauldron just kind of made me realize like, yeah, I think I need a break. I need to take some time off. And then I was reminded of on Patreon where I actually did tell everyone that I was going to take a break in April, and then I ended up not taking a break in April at all. And this is just another thing in the line of me knowing that I need to take some time for myself and yet feeling really bad because, you know, whenever you tell people that, you're always worried that people are going to not remember you or whatever. And I just need to get past that. If you're not having fun with the hobby, or you're not having fun with a certain aspect of the hobby, there are so many different things within cosplay that you can sink your teeth into. And I think that that's kind of where I am right now. Not so much in like a making mood as I am like theorizing mood or a planning mood for future projects. And I'm also kind of just happy with the amount of things that I've done. I'm really happy with a lot of the stuff that I've been able to make, and I'm kind of content and kind of just want to talk about some other topics and stuff. And yeah, so if you're, you know, willing to stick around for whatever comes up next, whatever I, you know, decide to show next, I really appreciate that. And I just want to, yeah, I don't really know what this video is going to be titled or what's going on, but I just want to make it known that there's not going to be like a particular consistency to content coming out, because I cannot commit to that right now. I just need to be able to let all of this stuff be a hobby and be excited for what I want to talk about, instead of feeling that pressure of, oh, every week I've got to make a video. Oh, I've got to talk about this, but I really am not in the mindset to want to talk about that. I think that that's what I really need right now, because I just really need to have that release of the expectation of there going to be consistent videos. So I 100% understand, like, if you're a Patreon supporter, if you like want to pause or whatever, I get that. But it's something I have to do in order to kind of land on my feet again. I feel like a lot of the times whenever I'm on social media, I'm just combated with a bunch of things screaming at me for my attention and screaming at me to basically react to them. And I don't want to react like that. I want to process what I'm feeling and talk about it whenever I'm ready. And that is something that I'm probably going to be talking about on my gaming channel. And that's another reason that I made the gaming channel. Whenever I am kind of pulling back on cosplay work or not as passionate about it, I'm usually gravitating to video games. I'm usually gravitating to, you know, letting myself absorb stories and get you know, reinvigorated and inspired by those stories. And I won't lie, there are some things within Jedi Survivor that I really do want to make physically, but I'm not going to pressure myself to do that immediately, because it will always be there for me to do. I don't know how to wrap this up, but my camera is gonna die, so take breaks. Breaks are good for your mental health. I will be taking one here. I don't know how long, but yeah, I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for sticking around through the video. And I'm sure I will see you here on the channel whenever I have something else I want to talk about. Or, you know, I definitely will be posting more on that gaming channel in the interim while I'm in between projects. So thank you guys so much, and I will catch you guys next time. Bye, guys.